Good morning. This is Jeff Hildebrand for TBL Traders. Today's video is going to be an option traders checklist. I will first, I'll read through my checklist and then reflect on each one of the points quickly. The first question I ask is, am I comfortable with the behavior of my underlying? Have I spent enough time looking at chart and price indicators? Am I following an underlying technical strategy? That's the first point. My second point would be, looking at the options that I want to trade, are they liquid? Can I get out easily? That's reflected in the bid ask. I'll talk about a little bit later, and the open interest. Third point, do I fully understand the strategy I'm applying? Do I understand the Greeks, particularly the Delta and the Vega, and my risk associated? Do I understand relative premium costs? What am I paying to put on this trade? How much is it costing me? Do I understand those elements? Do I understand the historical and implied volatility well enough to see whether I'm paying a fair price for these options? And lastly, am I confident in the trading plan? Is it coherent and does it fit within my risk profile limits? Do I understand my entry, exit, and potentially have I envisioned adjustments on this trade? That's my basic checklist. I'll look at each point now quickly. My first point, am I comfortable with the behavior of my underlying? This is the S&P 500 futures market. I should actually be showing you the SPY because that's what you'll be trading options on. So let's look at the monthly S&P ETF. And my first point is, am I comfortable with the behavior of my underlying? My underlying has just broken out of a channel. Okay? So as part of my technical analysis, I'm going to be looking at levels that are similar to, say, this. Okay? Have I traded this before? Do I understand the behavior of this underlying? Am I confident with my chart analysis? That would be looking at this chart, drawing the lines, setting the levels, and eventually applying those levels to any trade you want to make. Second, as my second point, are the options in the underlying that I'm trading liquid? Can I get out easily? That's reflected in the bid ask, as I mentioned. Obviously, the SPI is very liquid. You'll have no problem trading this product. The bid and ask spread is minimum. There's huge open interest. It's a very popular product. If you look at other options products, a little less popular, be very cautious of any option trading on a stock that isn't very liquid and that has a very large bid-ask spread. Sometimes they're hard to get out of trades. What else? Okay, can I get out? Okay. Third point, do I fully understand the strategy that I'm applying? Do I understand my Delta and Vega principally? If I get a VIX chart here, well, this is the S&P, as I said before, and here I've hit a point where I'm breaking out down. So the strategy I might want to apply on a breakout, though I would have applied it up here, would be a bear spread. Do I fully understand the implications of a bear spread on my account? Let's say, for example, I had a 196, 192 spread where my max loss is going to be 1900 and my max gain is going to be 2000. Do I really want to put on this spread? It's a sort of 50-50 shot there. I have, for every dollar I make, I can lose $1. I'm not suggesting this trade at all, but do I understand this trade? And do I have my justifications for getting into it? Do I understand my volatility risk? And is my delta lining up as I expect. Here I'm a little short delta. Okay, fourth point. Do I understand the premium and relative costs I'm paying to put on this trade? Have I looked sufficiently at the historic volatility versus the implied volatility? And am I willing to pay the premium for this trade? That's basically a question of confidence and practice. Often, especially when I started trading, I moved into option trades. I paid way too much for option trades than I should have. I didn't understand the difference between, for example, as I've spoken about, a straddle and a butterfly, and that I was paying too much premium for different types of strategies and different types of trades. That's something you'll have to go into yourself in detail and make sure you're comfortable with it and understand it. Last point, am I confident in the trading plan that I have? Is it coherent and does it fit within my risk profile limits? This trade that I showed you before, the bear spread, does my max loss, worst case scenario, am I within my risk limits? In my case, do I fit within 2% of my capital? Okay. Usually you never really end up at your max loss if you're doing spreads, because the technicals will have changed around here. In this, let me see if I can show you what that would look like. Yeah, if it breaks out over 196, for example, you probably want to get out of this trade or adjust it to a butterfly. At that point, your loss is going to be about $700. You're not going to be at your max loss of 2,000. So you'll adjust this trade with a loss of 700. That's another subject that gets more complicated when we get into adjustments, but be comfortable with your risk with every trade that you put on. Make sure that you understand the risk and make sure it fits within your trading plan, your larger trading plan. I just alluded to an exit. The last point that I had was, are you confident in your trading plan? That speaks to entry, exit, and adjustments. Is this entry today a good place to make this trade? Is an exit, am I set for an exit at 196 and 192? Are those places that I want to trigger an exit? As I said before, if you get to 196, you're going to have lost 600. If you get a 192 in the short term, you're going to be up 400. That's not a particularly great ratio for me to put on the trade, but am I comfortable with this number? So if I hit as an exit on both sides, if I hit 192, do I get out? If I hit 196, do I get out, or do I hold off and see if it breaks out and drags out some stops, chases some stops out, and then get out? Okay, so that's about it for this video. I think I covered the last point well enough. Thanks a lot for your time. If you have any questions, let me know. Bye.